If you run a pressure washing or exterior cleaning business and you're wondering how much you should actually spend on Google, this is going to be the video for you. I'm going to walk you through the exact money math we use to budget and scale campaigns for 80 plus exterior cleaning clients so you can see what to spend, how many leads that actually gets you, and whether Google Ads even makes sense for your business and market. Also, what I'll be doing is at the end of this video, I'll be demonstrating our Google Ads budget calculator that you can also utilize so that you're appropriately budgeting your next Google Ads campaign without guessing, because everything that I go over in this video is in this calculator. So let's briefly go over Google Ads if you're not familiar with them. So they are ads that appear on Google every time someone searches a keyword that's related to your service, which is going to be exterior cleaning. Whether that's going to be pressure washing near me, window washing companies, gutter cleaning near me. These are the type of keywords that your ads will show up for. And so what you do is you're going to bid for these type of keywords. And so every time you bid for it, it's going to cost you a certain amount, and you're paying per click. Not per view, not per lead. You're going to pay every time somebody actually clicks on your ad. And these clicks can turn into leads when people call you, they fill out a contact form, or they even chat with something like a chat bot on your website that you may have. And so the core rule and the numbers that I typically see in the exterior cleaning industry is that the typical cost per click, or how much it's going to cost you every time somebody clicks on your ad, is going to be between $8 to $14. Usually it's going to be around $10. And usually about 1 out of 6 clicks is going to become an actual lead, which is going to be about 15% of the time. So if you're to get 100 clicks, then guess what? You're going to get 15 leads. And so a healthy close rate from lead to job is going to be around 40% for Google Ads. And some of you might say that is low, but you have to consider that these people don't really know your business at all. They're not a referral, they're not a past customer, so therefore it's going to be a little bit more difficult to go ahead and close these clients. Therefore, the average conversion rate or an average healthy close rate for these is going to be around 40%. So how much should you budget to get at least 1 lead per day? That should be the minimum standard, at least 1 lead per day from Google Ads. And so on average, as I talked about in the previous slide, 6 clicks equals 1 lead. So what you need to do to determine how much you need to go ahead and spend per day is you need to see how much those bids are in your market. Now, as I said, bids can be anywhere between $8 to $14, even as high as $16 in some competitive markets. And so you want to multiply how much you have to spend per click times 6, since 6 clicks is going to get you 1 lead. So let's use some examples. If a click costs $8 and you multiply that times 6, which is going to be the 6 clicks, that means you need to spend at least $48 to get at least 1 lead. Now remember, guys, you might say, what determines if I spend $8 or $14? It really depends on your market and how competitive that market is and how aggressive other people are bidding. In some markets like Orlando, people bid between $12 to $16. In some other markets, like in Boston, people don't bid as much. They bid like $8 to $10. And so you have to go ahead and determine that, which is why you want to make sure that you manage your ads on a consistent basis so that you can see how much you need to bid in order to get clicks. That is how we go ahead and determine how much our clients need to go ahead and spend per day, because we'll look at a market and we'll say $10 makes us competitive because our ads will show in the top 2 spots if we are at least spending $10 per click. And then we'll just multiply that times 6 to see how much we need to budget per day to at least get 1 lead. So as you guys see with the math, if each click costs $12, you multiply that times 6, that's $72 a day. So you go on from there. And usually for our clients' campaigns, we recommend about $75 per active campaign for our clients because it gives us some wiggle room so that we can get even more than just 1 lead per day. Now, what is the number one reason why pressure washing Google ad campaigns fail? Well, because people don't spend enough. And I'm going to use a dice analogy so that you guys can understand what I mean. So the common startup pressure washing business that first wants to start Google Ads, they usually tell me something along the lines of, hey Jonathan, I want to just run my Google Ads for $25 a day. But what they don't understand is that if the average click is going to range between $8 to $14, and for the sake of this example, let's say it's $10 per click, you're only allowing your ad to get 2 to 3 clicks a day. And so to get 1 lead, you need 1 out of those 2 to 3 clicks to convert. And that means that you're converting 33 to 50% of people that visit your landing page or your website. And let me tell you guys, across any industry, whether it's home services, whether it's food, whether it's health, no business is going to go ahead and convert 1 out of 3 to 50. I shouldn't say no business, because we do have some clients that convert 33% in their campaigns, but that is not the norm. That's going to be an anomaly. And typically what you're going to see is about 15 to 16% of people convert on your ads if they're ran properly, which is going to be 1 out of 6 clicks, 1 out of 5, usually 1 out of 5 to 7 clicks is what you're typically going to go ahead and see. So it's going to be hard for you to go ahead and convert every single day at 33 to 50%. And so what ends up happening is you might go 4 or 5 days without getting a single lead. And I equate that to a dice because think about it. Let's say I wanted to roll a 3 on a 6-sided dice. That means I have a 1 out of 6 chance to go ahead and get a 3. Now, if I only have 2 opportunities to roll that dice, I have a lower likelihood of landing on that 3. But if I have 6 opportunities to go ahead and roll the 3, then I have a much higher probability. And that's what you have to think about with your Google Ads. You have to think about it that the more clicks I can get in a day, the more probability I have of getting a lead, which is why you want to spend more per day. That's why a lot of guys feel like they burn money. So if you were to just spend $25 a day, I hear so many guys say, Jonathan, I blew $500 and didn't get a single lead. Or I blew $750 and only got 1 or 2 leads. Well, yes, because each day you're not budgeting enough to get a lead. And so it's just like me rolling a dice and expecting to get a 3 every time I roll the dice only 2 times. And that's just not probable. So how you can go ahead and maximize your budget is that you may run your ads for a full month or only on weekdays. And that's how you can go ahead and stretch your budget as much as you can possible. Because some people might come to me and say, hey, Jonathan, across 30 days, I wouldn't be able to spend $1,500, which is going to go ahead and be $50 a day. But if they tell me, hey, Jonathan, I have about $1,200 to spend, guess what? You can run your ads on the weekdays only, which is about 20 to 22 days out of the month. And therefore, you can go ahead and spend more on those days because guess what? You're not running it on the weekend. So you keep your daily budget healthy and adjust days that fit your monthly target. And this doesn't change how many people search. It just concentrates your spending to days when people are more likely to book. And so that is a way that we're able to go ahead and work with our clients that aren't able to spend as much money. And so let's say that we want them to spend at least $1,000 in a full month. Some clients are like, hey, Jonathan, I'm not going to be able to spend that every single day, which is going to be about $35. But I'll tell them, I say, you know what? In order to maximize your budget, because $35 a day isn't enough, we'll go ahead and just run it on the weekdays, which is going to be at least $50 a day. And depending on how competitive the market is, we might be able to get 6 clicks out of that because it might only be $8 to $9 a click. And so that is how we're able to go ahead and concentrate different budgets. And so that's something that you want to consider for yourself. Are you going to run it on the full month? Or you're going to run on the weekdays? If you just run on the weekdays, you may be able to spend a little bit more. And so what is the golden ratio of spending for Google Ads? This is the golden ratio that we use for every single one of our clients, which first you want to always determine the clicks. After you determine the clicks, you'll determine the leads. You know how many leads you'll get. After you determine the leads you'll get, it'll determine the jobs. Then how many jobs you get, plus your close rate, it will determine the revenue that you make. And so that's how we break that down. How do we determine how many clicks you get? And trust me guys, I'll show you on the next slide exact money math. But how many clicks? You divide your budget by your average cost per click. That's how you're able to go ahead and see how many clicks you get. So if my budget was $1,000 and the average click was 10, that means I'm going to get 100 clicks. And then from those clicks, you want to go ahead and use your conversion. Like how much are you converting? Which usually I just say the standard is going to be 15%. So if I got 100 clicks and I'm converting 15% of those into leads, that's 15 leads. And then you want to look at jobs. So that's going to be leads times your close rate. Because if I'm getting 15 leads, and I have about a 40% close rate at that point, then what's going to end up happening is that I'm going to close a certain amount of leads, which is going to be about 6. And so if I have a 40% close rate, so if I have 15 leads and I close them at 40%, I'm going to get about 6 leads at that point, or 6 jobs. And so how I determine my revenue is I multiply the jobs I got 6 times my average ticket. And that's going to give me the revenue that I made for those Google Ads. And this is the exact math we run for pressure washing clients all over. So here's an example if you had about a $1,250 a month budget. So to determine the clicks, you would just go, okay, my budget's $1,250. You know, each click costs $10. And so that might go ahead and give me 125 clicks. Out of those 125 clicks, I'm converting 15% of those. So if I'm converting 15% of those, that's going to be 18 to 19 leads. And so if I want to determine how many jobs I'm going to get out of those 18 to 19 leads, if I'm closing 40% of them, that's going to be 7 jobs. And then at that point, the revenue really depends on the business. And so if you also want to be able to calculate your cost per lead, you would just divide how much what your budget is, divide it by how many leads you got. And that'll give you your cost per lead. And a good benchmark for an exterior cleaning business is to be below $75 per lead. And that is a good normal range for an exterior cleaning business. And as I alluded to earlier, your revenue depends on the business. And what do I mean by that? Let's concentrate on the 7 jobs right here. Let's say that I have 2 scenarios. I have a lower ticket and a higher ticket, right? Let's say that client A or scenario A, this client's average ticket's only $300. If they close 7 jobs, That's roughly only $2,100 to $2,400 a month. But in scenario B, let's say that we have a client that has a much higher average ticket. If it's $800 and they have 7 jobs, then at that point, they're going to go ahead and make $5,600 to $6,400 in revenue. And so it's the same amount of leads, same ads, but completely different outcomes. And that's why your average ticket and close rate are your levers on how successful you will be with Google Ads or any form of advertising. That's why you have to ensure that you are priced appropriately for ads. That's how 2 companies can have the same exact results but make a different amount of money. And so that is what determines your revenue. And so how do you pick your budget? First off, guys, if I had a step-by-step guide, you're going to estimate how much it's going to cost you per click and how much it's going to cost you to be competitive, whether that's between $8 to $16 or $8 to $14, I say, that we typically see, but some markets up to $16. You want to calculate your daily budget so that you know for how much you'll get for 1 lead. So if you determine that in order in your market it costs about $10 in order for you to be competitive in your market per click, then you would just do 10 times 6, which is going to be $60 a day. And then you turn that into a monthly budget. Whether you're going to run it all month, which if I was at $60, let's say, and I'm running it all month, that's $1,800. Or if I'm only running it on weekdays, that same $60 is only going to cost me $1,200 instead of $1,800 because I'm only running on the weekdays. And then you want to estimate your leads per month. And that's really just going to be your budget. So let's say that my budget was $1,000 and I wanted to go ahead and see what my lead range would be. Then these 50 to 100 right here, when it's estimated leads per month, this $50 and this $100 that I have right here, that is simply going to be how much it's costing you per lead. So for example, if I had $1,000 and I was paying $50 per lead, that means I'm going to get 20 leads because 20 times 50 is going to end up being $1,000, right? Now, if I go ahead and I'm paying $100 per lead off of $1,000, and that means I'm going to get 10 leads. And so what I like to do with our clients to tell them and estimate how many leads we get per month is I just say, what is our budget? And I divide that by what our potential cost per lead could be. And that's going to either be between $50 to $100. And so the range is, I'd say if a client had $1,000, I would say 10 to 20 leads you could get a month. And your estimated revenue, as you guys know, is going to be the amount of leads you get, multiply that by your close rate, and multiply that by your average ticket. And that's going to be your estimated revenue. So if the revenue and profit numbers look good, then Google Ads probably makes sense for you if you run through this exact equation. So I will go ahead and I will show you exactly right now. I'll show you exactly, guys, this calculator. So let's go to it. So here's a Google Ads budget calculator for you guys. And you can find this on our website. It's in the description below. All the things that I just talked about right now, you can plug your numbers into this, and this will give you the exact numbers and what you can expect when it comes to your Google Ads. So let's run through a scenario right now. I'll do 2 scenarios. So I'll do a scenario where you have a healthy budget, and I'll do a scenario where you don't have a healthy budget. I usually tell our clients $1,500 a month is what you should spend. We're gonna run it only on the weekdays, Monday through Friday. So let's say that a $1,500 budget. Right here, you would just put your ad schedule. Either it's every day of the month or it's only weekdays only. And then I'd put my monthly Google Ads budget for our clients is $1,500. And then right here would be how much you'd pay per click. So you could determine if I were to pay $16 in my market, that determines all of these other math equations that are below, which I'll show you guys right now. But let's just say that's $10 right now, guys, in this market. I'll put $10 of what I would expect to pay per click. And then I'd go off my average ticket. So let's just say the average ticket for most businesses is going to be about $500. And then I would say, what is our close rate on these? Now, for the sake of this video, I'll just say a 50% close rate because that's what most guys would say. Most guys would say, hey, I close about 50% of our new leads. So I can go ahead and adjust what our close rate would be. Now I would have the numbers. So this is what you would input. You would input your ad schedule. Are you running it 30 days or only weekdays only? Your monthly budget, what you pay per click, your average ticket, and your close rate. And then it spits out, guys, if your budget's healthy or not. And so it gives you a daily breakdown. So it's saying that, you know what, for a daily breakdown, it's about $75 per day, which is true. If you're running it Monday through Friday, that's $75 per day. And so you're going to be able to get at least 8 clicks per day. So it tells you how many clicks you're able to go ahead and get, even right here, if your budget's healthy or not. And then it's even going to tell you conversion rate needed for at least 1 lead a day. And it's realistic because with 8 clicks per day, you need about 13% conversion rate to get at least 1 lead a day. And that's well within the 10 to 20% range that most good campaigns hit at. And so this is a realistic range. And so now I can also see the estimated leads we would get per month, whether we're spending $50 a lead, $75 a lead, or $100. What you would say is the typical lead with Google Ads that most exterior cleaning businesses are going to get are going to be between $50 to $100. And so that right here in this scenario, as you can see, if I have this $1,500 with all of these numbers that I just input, guess what? That's going to be 15 to 30 leads that I'd get a month. And so this will also determine how many jobs I'd book per month. Obviously, the lower the lead cost, the more jobs you're going to be able to book because the more leads you're going to have. This will go ahead and tell you if your lead cost falls anywhere between $50 to $100, you can expect 8 to 15 jobs a month, depending on your close rate. And then your estimated revenue. So not profit, but revenue from it. And if your lead cost falls anywhere between $50 to $100, it gives you even the range of your estimated revenue that you would have from Google Ads. And that's based off your average ticket. So this would be $4,000 to $7,500 a month if I was spending $1,500. And then we go off the profit. And guys, a profit is simply how much revenue you made subtracted by how much your ad budget was. That's all this number is. And so, if your lead cost falls anywhere between $50 to $100, in this scenario, it's going to be $2,500 to $6,000 that I could get. And then it's going to tell you over the course, and this is just per month that you could be making after your ad spend. And then it's going to give you two scenarios. It's going to give you one over the course of 8 months, because I know some of you guys are in seasonal markets. So if I go off of these numbers, I can make $20,000 to $48,000 from Google Ads. And if I'm in Florida and I can run ads over the course of 12 months, then this could be $30,000 to $72,000. So now let's go with something that might be underfunded. Let's say I'm doing 500 or 400. As you can see, our system will tell you right now, like below 500, Google Ads will feel random. You're not buying enough daily chances for this to be consistent, because it's going to say underfunded. And it's going to tell you that the conversion rate needed for at least one lead a day is going to be 50%. With only 2 clicks per day, you need to convert 50% of those clicks into leads to just get 1 lead per day. And the average pressure washing campaign converts at 15 to 20%. And anything above 30% is just not realistic to expect consistently. So either your budget needs to go up or your cost per click needs to come down. And even in this scenario, if I were to make the cost per click go down, I'm still underfunded because I still need 33%, 1 out of 3. Even if I put $800, we recommend at least $1,000 a month, because if I do $1,000 in that a month right now, you can see this is somewhat healthy if my click is $8. Even if it's $10, I'm getting 5 clicks per day. I'd have to convert at 20%. That's well within the range of 10 to 20% that most good campaigns hit at. If I go ahead and I change the numbers and I say, you know what, it's going to cost me $12, then at that point it's going to be 25%. And so it's doable, but only if everything is dialed in. So strong ads, a fast loading landing page, quick follow-up. The average campaign converts around 15 to 20%. So you're asking for above average performance at this budget. So this is going to tell you how much your ads need to convert into leads. That's 25%. So 1 out of 4 clicks, you're going to need to convert into a lead in order for this to make sense. So this is what this goes ahead and tells you with all of these numbers, so that you can see how much you would make revenue, profit-wise, all of that. So the link to this, guys, is below in the description. You can go to our website, pwmarketingpros/pressure washing Google Ads calculator, and this will be just for you so that you can go ahead and determine how much you would spend for your Google Ads. So yes, guys, if this sounds good to you, or you're like, hey, this is a lot of stuff or a lot of information that I have to work on, guess what, guys? What we also have in the description as well is a link to our calendar so that we can go over your entire marketing strategy. And if you want help with your Google Ads, we can help you with that as well. And so you can click the link below in the description for a free lead flow acceleration session so that we can go ahead and see if it would be a good fit for us to run your Google Ads for you, for your business. And at the very least, you'll walk away from that session at least 2 to 3 steps closer to any marketing goal that you have, whether it's related to Google Ads or not. So make sure that you hit that link below in the description to get in touch with our team so we can talk to you about your marketing and things that you can do in order to increase the lead volume and profitability that you have in your business. So thank you for watching the video, guys. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.